This program is brought to you by World Vision in Zimbabwe.
The issue of early marriages is a religious issue, and it has much to do with church doctrine. As we've seen in the past weeks, there is a very close link between apostolic sects, marrying off young children, and in their world, this is something that they're used to. You can not really convince them otherwise. They believe it is their way of life. So whatever voice comes and tells them, you know what you're doing is wrong, is not likely to be heard. That's why we've decided today on Inside Out to invite people, representatives rather, from the religious sect to just give us their standing on what they're teaching their congregants and the word that they're preaching out there, especially pertaining early marriages. You're watching Inside Out. I am Yvonne Mukondani, and yes, the conversation on early marriages continues. Today we're joined by Reverend Charles Masunungure, who is an overseer, Family Covenant Church Bindura. He is also a former commissioner from National Peace and Reconciliation Commission. Reverend, how are you?
I'm fine, and you, Yvonne?
I'm very well, thank
you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you with us.
Great.
We also have Reverend Innocent Chitanda from the Union of the Development Apostolic and Zionist Churches in Zimbabwe, UDA-CIZA. Very good morning to you, Reverend.
Morning, Yvonne.
How are you?
Fine, thanks, and how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Joining us virtually again, we have Shami Somatamba Nadzo, who is the Advocacy, Communications and External Engagements Team Leader from World Vision. Now, to start off the conversation, we'd want to hear from UDA-CIZA. Of course, this program is sponsored by World Vision, which is a Christian-based organization dealing with women and children to fight off early marriages. We'll start off with you, UDA-CIZA. You work with a lot of apostolic sects, machechi atajaira kuti emapostori, pamwechete nemazion. And with the conversation that we've been having, we've noticed that dambudziko iri rinenge riri kunyanya kutangira kumachechi iwaya ema-apostolic sect. Munoti chi semumiririri wavo?
Thank you, Yvonne. Before I respond to your question, I am not comfortable with the word sect. Just from theological perspective, a sect is a church who does not adhere to some of the Christian foundation pillars, like Bible, that those do not read the Bible, that those do not believe that there's Jesus Christ, those do not believe in God, those does not believe in Holy Spirit. So I think we as UDA-CIZA, we work with the churches.
All right.
So the churches which we are working with as UDA-CIZA, we know that most of apostolic churches, they were formed during colonial era, and there were no healthy relationship between the church and the government. So after independence, the apostolic church began to work in close relationship with the government. So, hence the formation of UDA-CIZA in 1993. So the role of UDA-CIZA's role is to help those churches so that they can improve their constitution. So they are allied with international conventions, and then there are new laws which are being crafted most of the time. So as UDA-CIZA, nguwa zhinji yedu isusu ndeyekudzidzisa ma-members yedu kuti alright, nhasi paiswa mutemo wakati tingateedze sei. For example,
tisati taenda kumberi, Reverend. Right now, toda kungoziva your stance. Munoti chi pamusoro pema-early marriages, kuroorwa kwevana vachiri vadiki.
SeUDA-CIZA tiri kuedza kutaura kuti pakagadzirwa bumbo remutemo muna idzvairi report 2013, it clearly states that kuti munhu afanira kuroora munhu ari under 18. Saka ma-members etinoshanda nawo seUDA-CIZA tinokudziridza kuti pabumbiro ravo remutemo panyorwe kunzi we do not marry children who are under 18.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Reverend, coming to you. Vatsanangura, their stance as UDA-CIZA. They're saying they work in line with the Constitution, whatever it is that the Constitution says that they follow. Also, as a reverend, you're from the Family Covenant, yes, but you are a religious leader in general. What's your stance pertaining this issue that we're talking about today, early marriages?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. My stance is based on what the Bible teaches from Genesis chapter 2. The first couple, that is Adam and Eve. God said it is not good for a man to be alone. I will make him a helpmate who is fit to help him. And then we see the creation of Eve and the naming of Eve, woman. And so marriage, as far as I believe and as far as all the churches that are within the charismatic space, are concerned, which is churches under the EFZ. Family Covenant Church belongs to that group of churches. We believe in monogamous marriages, which is a result of consent between two adults. Therefore, there is no question about having to marry a child.
There's no question about having to marry a child.
Because God did not give a child to Adam to become a wife. He gave a woman. That's why Eve was called woman by Adam.
Coming back to you, Reverend, I want to find out, as Judas Caesar, pane nyaya yakanetsa yakatikonzeresa isusu to then start talking about early marriages, although it has been a problem that we've had for a long time. Nyaya Anna Machaya. And zvinozikana kuti Anna Machaya anopinda cheche kwamarangi. And zvinhu zvanga zvibvunzwa nevanhu pasocial media, pafacebook, kuti imimi murunge mukurova imbwa makaviga mpinyi, like we say in Shona. What we want to find out is, imimi seJudas Caesar, bato renyu, do you also represent church iyoyi kwamarangi?
Right, seJudas Caesar, tinema department mairi, kune associated member, cause members. Saka wekwamarangi, we refer them as associated members, just because awasati watipa bumbiro ravo remutemo kuti tiri ongorore. Nekuti Judas Caesar ine zvairi kudzidzisa mabishop anouya kuJudas Caesar, safeguard adult and children safeguard protocol yetinodzidzisa kuti kana bishop auya tinomuorienta kuti adzidze kuti chechi inochengetedza sei chinonzi mwana. Muchechi mufangwe mine munhu anomirira wana. Saka this safeguard protocol ndiye tikuita roll out throughout the country. But unfortunately, those who are associated members, sometimes tinenge tichishanda nema-members in isolation, but wasati watipa constitution yavo. Saka seJudas Caesar, kazhinji tinoshandisa carols, we don't use stick, we do not force our members. Tinoedza kuparidza shoko rakanaka, and wanenge wafarira shoko redu, wanouya kwetiri, tobatsirana kugadzira bumbiro ravo remutemo. So far, we have got 605 churches dzakatonza maconstitution nawo, tichiwarayira kuti safeguard protocol inoitwa sei, uye kuti kana mwana akanganiswa mukati mecheche zvinofamba sei.
Mataure mimi kuti mune bumbiro remutemo uye zveve kwamarange mavashedza muchiti the associated members. Mukunzwisisa kwangu, I think you guys munenge mune kakushanda kwamunoita. Saka tikada kutarisa machechi ese ari pasi peJudas Caesar, ma-associated members nemamwe vese, mune here chisungo chamuinacho kana nzira yamuinayo yekuti kana pachinge parorwa mwana mudiki kana pachinge paitika zvakadai, so ndiyo mabatiro atinokuitai, nichazodzoka kwamuri pari zvinoregai timbotaura naShamiso from World Vision. Shamiso, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. You are from World Vision, and we understand World Vision is a Christian-based organization, and you work with various stakeholders to fight some of the issues as one that we're talking about today, early marriages. How has been your experience?
So thank you, Yvonne, for this opportunity. We are really working in these communities to try really and push the ending of child marriages using our campaign, which is It Takes a World to End Violence Against Children. And for Zimbabwe, we've chosen sexual violence, and we want to end child marriage as our main driver. So the issues that I think I'll talk about two things: the key drivers, as well as the effects of child marriages within the communities, what we have seen when we are working. So the key drivers are mainly three: religious practices, cultural practices, as well as poverty. Those are the three main things that we see and we hear in the communities as affecting, or at least being the key drivers which drive people to get into these early marriages. Cultural and religious practices, some of the things that I'll speak about is early marriages are used to, protect girls against early sexual debut. In our culture, we prefer that mwana azokurira ato marriage or to lose their virginity, would rather they lose their virginity when they're already in a marriage setup. In some, we have heard this in the communities. And then also one thing that is also big is the onset of puberty is used as a sign of readiness for marriage and adulthood. So as soon as mwanango tisumukire wechisikana ato ready, they are ready to actually be a wife. So those kind of practices, retrogressive practices, such as even pledging or kupira ngozi, unplanned marriages, munotizira. Some of those things are the ones that we are seeing and we are hearing as perpetuating. Religion, as you have just spoken, Anna Machaya case, men who are older, they marry these girls under the pretense of religion. And then poverty is a big one in our country. There are survival taxes, negative survival tactics that family used when they're living in poverty. How can they get out of poverty? They marry off their daughters. And some of the approaches or the effects that we are seeing that are happening, lots of deaths of young girls, just like in Anna Machaya's case. We see a lot of HIV and AIDS. We see a lot of, children, just their childhood is just taken away from them. So these are some of the things that we are seeing in terms of key drivers and effects of early marriages in the communities that we work.
Now, having mentioned the key drivers, issues to do with poverty, religion, culture, and a whole lot of issues that you've mentioned, what has been your stance really as World Vision in tackling this problem that we're faced with as a community?
So as World Vision, we've decided we're going to tackle this in a two-pronged approach or way. So we want to address the policy side of things, and we also want to address the practice side of things. So in terms of practice, we are doing this at grassroots level. How do we ensure that the behavior, the perceptions, what we think is right, what our culture says is right, what our religion says is right, how do we slowly change those perceptions within the community, so the practice side. So we are ensuring that children have access to information on child protection, sexual reproductive health, so that they can be able to protect themselves and know what is wrong and what is right for them. We also work with the caregivers, the parents, so they understand the negative effects of harmful social and religious practices on children, on their own children, to perpetuate this and how to stop it. We work with the community structures that we already have in these communities, such as the child protection committees, the faith leaders. We work with traditional leaders. So we teach them and we change the mindset. And then they can also help us to strengthen the protection of children at their community level. And then we also have our technical programs that we work with in World Vision that we use also to fight some of these key drivers. I can take health for an example. Our health technical program supports all these activities that have to do with access to services for children.
Shamiso, I'll have to hold you off a little bit there. We will come back to you so that you finish off where you would have left off, and then just give us more information pertaining this issue. You're watching Inside Out, your weekly ZBC news program, and yes, the conversation on early marriages continue. We take a short break. Join us when we return.
World Vision is a global Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision serves all people, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, or gender. World Vision: hope, joy, and justice for all children. World Vision is a global Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision serves all people, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, or gender. World Vision: hope, joy, and justice for all children.
Welcome back. It is a pleasure having you with us. Now, before we went for the break, before we even talked to Shamiso, we were talking here to Reverend Chitanda, and we were asking him whether, as Judah sees that, they have any policies in place kuti vane mitemo here nemabatiro avanoita vavanobata navo musangano ravo zvikuru sei vamwe vemapostori kana vekwamarange vanenge varodza vana vachiri vadiki, and we had promised that muchatipindura after tataura naShamiso.
Okay, I think say Judah Caesar, mukataura safeguard policy yedu kutaura. Most of the districts dzetiri kushanda tapedza kutraina ma-church leaders ari munzvimbo yenyaya safeguard protocol. Totasiya tagadzira coordinate committee inoshanda nevamwe ma-stakeholders. Tinoziva kuti senyika tine mitemo yakakwana inodzivirira chinonzi mwana. Saka ma-coordinators edu ari mudistrict anenge akushanda nevamwe ma-stakeholders mapurisa. What we do as Judah Caesar, tinoziva kuti wazhinji wanosanganisa chitendero. Asi chitendero pache zvacho hachina mhosva, but kune vanhu vari kuita umbavha. Tikatarisa nyaya yakaitika kwaMarange, haizi cheche seyakaitika, asi munhu akaita nyaya yake, mhosva yake ari ega. So we cannot implicate the whole church just because one person apara mhosva. Saka seJudah Caesar tiri kuti ma-harmful cultural practice iyayo ari kupracticwa mukati mecheche just because paprogram yataimboshanda neWorld Vision ye-white trainer on the channel of hope, we identify that there's a challenge in misinterpretation of the Bible. Just because, as you know, most of us, we've never been to a theological school. Takangopatika kuparidza, tika oriented in another way kuti kone kuparidza. But pane nyaya manje yekuzogona kuinterpreta Bible. Saka seYudas Caesar ndo imwe nyaya yatinoedza kugadzira misinterpretation of the Bible, so that the Bible might not be used as an onion to oppress women. The Bible must be used correctly so that people must live a healthy life.
He says the Bible must be used correctly. It must be used to protect women, used to protect children. I want to hear from you now. As a church, how then do you work with the community to ensure that issues such as child marriages are not a part of us? And I also want you to tell me something, because what he's saying has just made me think about the conversation that we had with Reverend Taylor Nyanete earlier. I've noticed that with religious leaders, there's a case yeku kandirana. No, this is not us. We have a policy in place. Are you accountable as the church, and are you holding your fellow clergymen accountable?
Thank you very much. I think that is addressed in a number of respects. For example, the church itself does not work in isolation. That is why one of my credentials is that I'm a founder and the executive director of Zimbabwe Peace Building Trust. The whole idea is to create an institution that is also faith-based in a way, and which can relate to pastors, to traditional leaders, to the law, and so forth. The role of the church itself, in general, is to be able to interpret the Bible correctly and to teach those teachings of the Bible that do not suppress other groups. Because if you even ukadzokera kuna Genesis unonzwa kuti Mwari akasika murume nomukadzi vakafanana naye. There is no inferiority component there. And so the role of the church is to teach the right doctrine as is given in the Bible. Number two is to empower. You find that vanasikana vamwe vacho vanofunga kuti kunoroorwa kuri more important than kupeswa career. So we also provide career counseling, career guidance, and also we provide leadership by being the right mentors and dealing with the rogue elements. I'm sure you know that in churches kune vanhu vanoabhusa even vanasikana vacho. And so the church doesn't keep quiet when such things happen. That's one of the things that we do as a way of making sure that we reduce this scourge, rebuking those who are going the wrong way. And I agree with the Reverend here that sometimes one element anogona kukanganisa, and then everyone says the whole church is wrong. But it is what we do kana munhu wacha akanganisa. We don't want to protect the wrong people. We want to be able to bring them to book and even hand them over to the law to say no, munhu akanganisa, aita rape, aita abuse in church, sexual abuse, agarege kuprotectwa ne church using the Bible. Touch not the anointed one. That is a wrong interpretation even
it
of the Bible. It
is a wrong interpretation, yes. And coming to you, Shamiso, I'm sure you're following up on the conversation, and you've probably heard what these two reverends here have said. As World Vision, I know you work with Yuda Caesar and other Christian-based organizations. What inroads have you made?
Thanks, Yvonne. So we have with Yuda Caesar. I think they're one of our biggest partners that we work with. I'll just give an example of our iGate program that is in Matebelen, that is focused on girls' education. So we worked with Yuda Caesar a lot on this and addressing negative practices, especially towards the girls. Just educating them to desist, especially in the areas where there was some hindering of children, especially girls, from continuing with accessing education. We worked with Yuda Caesar there. And then one of our models that we really worked well with them is our channel of hope in gender. Basically, it's a model that children and communities are trained and sensitized to advocate for their rights and to be fully aware of their roles and responsibilities, being a girl, being a boy, and what it means, etc. So we also developed with Yuda Caesar a gender policy, that just outlines some of the gender barriers within the sect, which perpetuate child protection issues. So I think we've really made a lot of inroads with Yuda Caesar in terms of mostly on our gender side and just protecting, especially the girl child in some of the areas that we had identified to be having those issues. So yeah, that's one example I can give you.
Reverend Chitanda, I'm sure we've heard from Shamiso how you guys work together and the kind of work that you do. Imimi se sangano chi chatingati matimaita sofa kubvisa nekubvanganyura zvinhu zvinobhilivhwa nevamwe vanhu vamunoshanda navo sezvamataura kuti anogona kunge ari munhu one but atokanganisa zita revanhu vakawanda but pane here zvamuri kuita. I know mataura nezvemapolicies nemamwe nezvimwe zvinhu zvamuinazvo on paper but on the ground chii chamuri kunyatsoita kuti munyatsomeka sure kuti zveshuwa dambudziko iri rapera.
seJudas Caesar mukaona religious cluster facilitator takatoenda kwaChiwi who was excellent, was from Marangi. Our current Boera coordinator ari kubatsirana neWorld Vision kudistributa material yekudzidzisa one, Mr. Robson Mchuchu is from Marangi. So the people from Marangi, they are doing a lot of good work. It's unfortunately kuti one chinenge changoshata ndo chinobva chataurwa zvakanyanya. As Judas Caesar,
but amufunge here kuti maybe one ichi chiri kunyanyotsamwisa vanhu because dzimwe nyaya dzanga dzichiitika ikoko and dzinoitika but hadzisi kutaurwa nezvazvo. Pamwe iyi yaAna Machaya ndo yakazonyanyobuda saka vanhu vakatsamwa vakati tiri kuzviziva kuti zviri kuita sei zviri kuitika.
Ichokwadi, but me as a National Child Protection Officer weJudas Caesar ndofunga ndinokudziridza kuti macoordinator angu neother stakeholders they can phone us if there is any challenge, just because pane nyaya yekuti vanhu vanogona kunge vachityikana mukati menzvimbo asi tine dzimwe foni dzatakaisa parutivi dzakawanda saka mukuna safeguard protocol yedu we are encouraging kuti mamembers edu chaashandise masuggestion box, we are encouraging them to phone to us nyango petinofamba maposta edu tinotoisa mamwe mastakeholders just because sometimes vanotya kuti pamwe I'm part of them. They can phone to World Vision, they can phone to Troike, they can phone to any of our partners.
Reverend Chitanda there from Judas Caesar talking to us and telling us that as an organization, they do not in any way support early marriages. We're off to a break. We will come back again to talk to both Reverends and Shamiso from World Vision as we conclude this hot topic.
A global Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision serves all people, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, or gender. World Vision: hope, joy, and justice for all children. A global Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision serves all people, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, or gender. World Vision: hope, joy, and justice for all children.
We continue with the conversation now. Reverend Masunungure, you've talked about the organization that you founded. You're also former commissioner, Peace and Reconciliation Commission. And I want to find out now, in your capacity as founder and executive director of Zimbabwe Peace Building Trust, if we're talking about peace, we encompass all components. We have to have happy children who grow up in their time doing what they're supposed to do. What have you done then to influence policy change so that these issues just do not become part of us anymore?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. As Zimbabwe Peace Building Trust, we have 4 components that we are dealing with. We deal with capacity building. We deal also with conflict prevention and social cohesion facilitation. So those 2, we interact now with policymakers in terms of making sure that there are no activities or laws that actually promote the hindering of positive peace, because positive peace now is not just the absence of war, but is the environment, enabling environment for everything. But you see there are about 4 challenges that we see. Panama gaps MTEMO. The Marriages Act is not yet harmonized with the Constitution, and it is being used as an avenue by some people. Pane the issue of patriarchy and World Vision, and now the COVID-19, wherever now has school. So, but we keep pushing through advocacy. Yes.
You keep pushing
through
advocacy.
Yes.
Coming to you, Reverend Muchidimbu, just as we conclude, mantukuda kuti mutipe mashoko maringe nenhau yatukutaura nezvayo inhasi. Muri kuti kudi kune vamwe vemachechi vangava vari pasi peJudas Caesar kana vasiri mamwe mapostori kunyange asiri pasi penyu vari kuita izvozvi zvekurodza vana vadiki, because vanhu vakatsamwa kunze uku and vakanyanya kutsamwira mapostori. Vanenge vachingofunga kuti mapostori ndokwazvinoita sei, ndokwazvinoitwa. Saka munoti chii kumhuri yeZimbabwe uyezve kune vamwe vemasangano maringe nenyaya yatiri kutaura nezvayo nhasi?
seJudas Caesar tinobhilivha munawa Roma 13 verse 1 kuti ngatiteedzerei umambo huri kutonga. Hurumende yakati hafaniri kuroora mwana no under 18 marriage. And seJudas Caesar futi tiri kukurudziridza mamwe masangano akawanda kuti atibatsirisewo kuparidza shoko iri, just because nzvimbo dzatakashanda setiri kutaura idzi kunana Chiwi kunana Mberengwa panoonekwa kunzi pashandwa. Saka dzimwe nzvimbo dzakaita sena Manyikaland tiri kuti futi tibatsirei tiparidze shoko iri, nokuti kuna vamwe vasina mukana wekuona maTV, kuna vamwe vasingateri maredhiyo. We want to be on the ground to make sure kuti
taparidza shoko munhu wese anzwa. Shamiso, your parting words to the people of Zimbabwe as World Vision. I'm sure you've come across a number of challenges. Just in brief, we want to hear your final words pertaining this issue that we've been following up on today.
Yeah, so I think I'll just focus on some of the hindrances or stumbling blocks that we have encountered that would really want to encourage people to look into. Our attitudes and perceptions of our communities, behavior change is really a big thing on this one. Poverty, because of the economic stresses and also exacerbated by COVID-19, really pushing some parents to think child marriage is an option. So this is the second thing I would really want our societies to look into. How can we change this this thing? And then the final thing is lockdown. Like the Reverend has said, the lockdown has left many children, especially in the rural areas, very idle, and many of them got pregnant, many of them got married off. These three issues have to be addressed, and as a whole, as a nation, we can do it. We can change the attitudes, we can change the situation of parents, and we can, turn around the lives of these children who have been married early and who have had teenage pregnancies due to the lockdown. So those are my parting words. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you very much, Shamiso. Reverend, thank you very much for having joined us. Thank you very much for having joined us.
Thank you, Yvonne.
We hope that our conversation will somehow make a change. You heard from Judas Caesar, they said kunyange zvazvo tiri mapostori hatisi tese tiri kuita izvi, and as Judas Caesar vatoramba kuti no, we're not marrying off children at a young age. So thank you very much for having joined us. Until we meet again next week, pleasant viewing.
This program was brought to you by World Vision in Zimbabwe.